the cameras flashed, the crowd froze, and just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
But what happens when that obsession with perfection actually turns fatal?
Welcome to StarScope Report. We are here to uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into a headline that has completely rocked the beauty and influencer worlds. Our focus for this deep dive is, this plastic surgery killer is finally dead.
And to really understand this, we need to picture the scene first. It's Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. We're at Lincoln Plaza in Canary Wharf, London.
Right, which, for anyone who hasn't been there, is this ultra-luxury, usually very quiet apartment complex. It's the kind of place where people pay a massive premium just for privacy.
Exactly. But at 12:38 p.m., that quiet is just completely shattered. You have the London Ambulance Service rushing in.
Followed right behind by the Metropolitan Police.
Yeah, blue lights flashing everywhere against the gray sky. They're racing up to an apartment where a man has been found unconscious.
And despite the paramedics doing literally everything they could, he is pronounced dead right there at the scene.
And when the identity of this man gets out, it doesn't just make the local news. It sends an absolute shockwave through the tabloids, social media, and honestly, the entire beauty industry.
The man is Jordan James Parke, but I think most of you probably knew him better as the Lip King.
Right. And, this isn't just a story about a reality TV star passing away young. It's a story layered with just so much irony and tragedy.
Because the early reports regarding the cause of death, they point to the idea that the Lip King, a man who spent a fortune transforming himself, may have actually died doing exactly what made him famous.
Undergoing a cosmetic procedure.
Exactly. We aren't just looking at the headlines or the standard Instagram tribute post today. We really need to look at the tangled web he left behind.
I mean, we're talking about a manslaughter investigation, a grieving family totally denied justice, and an aesthetics industry that is essentially a Wild West spiraling out of control.
We've got sources ranging from official police reports and ITV News investigations to transcripts from the reality show Botched and even medical journals on aesthetic tourism.
The mission here is to figure out how a quest for perfection ended in such a chaotic, tragic mess.
So let's start with the immediate news, just to get everyone up to speed on the facts. Jordan James Parke is dead at 34.
Which is incredibly young. And I actually followed his career a bit more closely back in the early days. For anyone listening who might only know the headlines, he was a lot.
Larger than life doesn't even really cover it, does it?
Not at all. He was originally a beautician from the West Midlands, but he turned into this global caricature of modern fame. He was best known for his absolute obsession with Kim Kardashian.
But it wasn't just, I want to dress like her.
No. It was, I want to surgically alter my entire existence to resemble her.
And the numbers behind that are just staggering. We're looking at reports that he spent over $150,000, which is roughly 130,000 pounds on cosmetic procedures alone.
And that's not just one or two big surgeries. We're
Yeah.
talking about more than 50 distinct procedures since he was 19 years old.
It's the specific list that really gets me. He had 4mm lip fillers, chin implants, multiple nose jobs, upper eyelid surgeries.
He even had his eyebrows permanently tattooed on. He didn't want to look natural. The goal was to look highly modified.
I think that's a really key distinction to make. He actually appeared on the reality show Botched back in 2015. I went back and watched the clips from that episode while prepping for this, and honestly, it's genuinely hard to watch.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. Because you see a young man who is clearly struggling, but he's framing it as empowerment. He actually went on that show because his lips were literally leaking.
Wait, leaking like the filler was actually coming out?
Yes. He told the doctors on the show, Terry Dubrow and Paul Nassif, who are the best in the business, that filler was seeping out of the sides of his mouth. That is a clear clinical sign that the facial tissue is completely oversaturated. It just physically can't hold any more product.
And the doctors, to their credit, absolutely refused to operate.
And they did. They told him the risk was just way too high. But what stood out to me was his reaction to being told no. He told the cameras he was addicted to the lip filler.
Right. He had this quote that really stuck with me. He said that without the fillers, he would feel normal and boring.
That's the psychological trap right there.
Yeah.
He even embraced the hate he got online. He mentioned on the show that someone once told him he had, quote, blowjob lips.
And instead of being offended, he loved it.
Exactly. He said any attention is good attention because it meant people were noticing him.
It's that exact feedback loop we see with so many influencers today. The more extreme you look, the more engagement you get.
And the more engagement you get, the more validated you feel. It's an incredibly dangerous cycle.
Well, that cycle finally came to a halt last week. He's found dead in this luxury apartment. Now, the police are currently treating the death as unexplained, but they've opened a very specific line of inquiry.
Right. They believe he might have been undergoing a cosmetic procedure at the exact moment he died.
Which brings us to Friday, February 20th. Just 2 days after the body is found, two people are arrested, a 43-year-old man and a 52-year-old woman.
And they were held on suspicion of manslaughter, though they have since been bailed.
This is where the legal side gets really interesting. If he was receiving a treatment in a private apartment rather than a registered sterile clinic, and if that treatment went wrong...
Like an embolism or a massive overdose of some kind?
Exactly. That puts this squarely in the realm of criminal negligence.
It's the ultimate irony, isn't it? The Lip King potentially dying by the needle. It feels like the dark end of a cautionary tale.
You'd think that's the whole story. A celebrity goes too far, tragedy ensues. But here is where it gets really dark. If you think this is just a tragedy about a celebrity's accidental overdose or a botched job, you are missing the massive elephant in the room twist.
And that's not even the wildest part. I know where you're going with this, and it still shocks me every single time I read the case file.
At the time of his death, Jordan James Parke wasn't just a victim. He was the prime suspect in someone else's death caused by a cosmetic procedure.
It completely changes the entire texture of the story. It goes from poor Jordan to, well, it becomes a full-blown true crime story.
We have to rewind to September 2024. Let's talk about Alice Webb. She was a 33-year-old mother of 5 from Wotton-under-Edge.
It wasn't a celebrity. She was just a mom who wanted to feel a little better about herself. She went to Parke's clinic, which is called Studio 23, located in Gloucester.
And she went in for something called a liquid Brazilian butt lift, or a liquid BBL. Now, looking at the medical notes on this for the listener who hears BBL and immediately thinks of major surgery, how is this liquid version different?
Okay, so a traditional surgical BBL involves taking fat from one part of your body through liposuction and grafting it onto the buttocks. It is invasive, it requires a scalpel, it has huge risks, but it uses your own natural tissue.
Right.
A liquid BBL is completely different. It involved injecting massive amounts of dermal filler, usually hyaluronic acid, directly into the buttocks to change the shape.
And it's heavily marketed as the easy option, right? Like non-surgical or a lunchtime lift.
Exactly. The marketing pitch is always no scalpel, no downtime. But that is a wildly dangerous misconception. Alice Webb fell ill during this exact procedure at Parke's clinic.
She was rushed to Gloucestershire Royal Hospital, but tragically she died. And it was recorded as the first known death in the UK specifically caused by a liquid BBL procedure.
A mother of 5, just gone, all because of a beauty treatment.
And Parke was arrested for that. He was arrested on suspicion of manslaughter in connection with Alice's death. But, and this is why the timing of his own death is so crazy, he hadn't been formally charged yet.
Because he was out on bail.
Right. And he was scheduled to answer that bail in March 2026.
Which is literally next month.
He died just weeks before he was set to face the legal consequences of Alice Webb's death.
That just has to be so devastating for her family. I mean, imagine preparing yourself for a trial, preparing to face the person you believe is responsible for your loss, and then he's just gone.
It leaves this massive void. We actually have statements from Alice's family reacting to Parke's death. Alice's sister, April, spoke to ITV News.
What did she say?
She said, "We have heard the news that Jordan Parke has died. This brings mixed emotions as it inevitably reminds us of the deeply painful loss of Alice."
It's very graceful, honestly. They could have been so much angrier in that public statement. But they also pointed out the harsh reality.
Yeah.
They will never see him face trial.
Right. The statement continued, saying, "While we will never see him face trial, our fight for justice for Alice continues." It's a situation where there is absolutely no closure.
The man accused of killing a woman via cosmetic procedure has now seemingly died during a cosmetic procedure himself.
It's Shakespearean. It's eerie. But for the family, it just means justice is permanently denied.
Now, you mentioned their fight for justice. This naturally leads us to the state of the industry itself. Because if I told you someone was arrested for manslaughter because a patient died in their clinic, what would you naturally assume happens to their ability to work?
Logic dictates they get suspended, right? They lose their license and they have to stop trading immediately.
You would definitely assume that, but you would be wrong. And this is where the Wild West description of the UK aesthetics industry stops being a metaphor and starts being a literal description of lawlessness.
Later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming, but wait till you hear what Parke was doing while on bail.
This part completely blew my mind when I read the BBC report. While Parke was on bail, literally waiting to see if he would be charged with killing a woman, he was still actively trading online.
He was trading under the name The Lip King Aesthetics. And he wasn't just selling, like, lip gloss or branded hoodies. Investigative reports found that he was selling illegal weight loss injection kits via his social media accounts.
We're talking about the skinny jabs, right? The whole Ozempic craze.
Essentially, yes. Semaglutide. It's the active ingredient in prescription drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. He was selling these kits for 200 pounds a pop.
But how do you even sell a heavily regulated prescription drug on Instagram? How does the actual delivery of that work?
This is the terrifying part. Sources say the kits arrived in unlabeled envelopes. No branding, no pharmaceutical safety seals whatsoever.
Just loose items.
Just unlabeled envelopes containing vials of white powder, separate needles, and mixing agents.
White powder and needles in a standard envelope. That sounds less like a medical treatment and more like a drug deal on the dark web.
That's effectively what it was. There were zero medical checks, no questions asked about the buyer's medical history, their BMI, or if they were diabetic. Just send the money, here's the powder.
And he was doing this while actively facing manslaughter accusations for a previous botched procedure. The audacity is just, it's hard to wrap your head around. Didn't he post about his lavish lifestyle while doing this?
Reportedly, yes. He was posting about taking luxury trips to Cape Verde, all funded by this illicit trade. Meanwhile, Alice Webb's family is mourning, and he's shipping dangerous kits from his phone.
Experts like Dr. Sophie Shooter have called this shocking and a complete embarrassment to the UK's regulatory system.
It really highlights how shockingly loose the regulations are. We have data here showing that since 2022, there have been 1,800 official complaints to local councils about cosmetic practitioners.
But why is the UK so particularly bad for this? Is it like this everywhere?
No, the UK is unique in a very dangerous way. In many other countries, you have to be a qualified medical professional, like a doctor or a registered nurse, to legally inject anything into someone's face or body.
But in the UK?
The law is incredibly vague. Non-medics, people with absolutely zero medical degree, can legally perform invasive, injectable procedures.
So let me get this straight. If I wanted to, I could go buy some filler online, rent a back room somewhere, and start injecting people tomorrow. And that is perfectly legal.
Technically, yes. Prescription drugs like Botox do require a prescriber to sign off on the drug itself, but the actual physical act of injecting it, and the dermal fillers, the regulations are almost non-existent.
A hairdresser, a beautician, or literally anyone off the street could pick up a needle.
Which is exactly what Alice Webb's family is fighting to change right now. They are aggressively campaigning for something called Alice's Law.
I've actually seen this hashtag circulating online. Hashtag Alice's Law. What would that legislation actually change?
The main goal is to ban non-surgical BBLs entirely and to ensure that only qualified medical professionals can perform invasive aesthetic procedures. The government has proposed a red, amber, green rating system.
Like a traffic light system for cosmetic surgery?
Precisely. Under this proposal, the liquid BBL, the exact procedure that killed Alice, would be categorized as red.
Meaning it would be restricted to doctors only.
Right. And here's the kicker. Because most responsible, board-certified doctors consider the liquid BBL way too dangerous to perform, restricting it to doctors would effectively act as a total ban.
Why is the liquid BBL considered so much more dangerous compared to, say, standard lip filler? Why does it get the red light?
It all comes down to basic anatomy. The buttocks are extremely vascular. There are a lot of very large blood vessels there, specifically the gluteal veins.
Okay.
When you are injecting massive amounts of filler blindly into that area, if a practitioner accidentally hits a vein and injects that thick filler directly into the bloodstream, it travels.
Travels where?
Straight to the heart or the lungs. It causes a pulmonary embolism. It instantly blocks the blood flow. It's often fatal, and it happens very, very fast.
That's terrifying.
That's why the legitimate medical community is so incredibly wary of it. You're essentially playing Russian roulette with human anatomy.
And yet, people are still seeking these treatments out every single day. We also see a lot in the news about cosmetic tourism, people flying to Turkey for surgeries because it's so much cheaper.
We do. And that's a huge part of the broader problem. We have data from Wounds UK and the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons showing a massive spike in severe complications from people returning from clinics abroad.
And the NHS ends up having to pick up the pieces, right? Treating sepsis, wound adhesions, tissue necrosis. It costs the taxpayer millions.
But Parke's case is a massive wake-up call that the danger isn't just in clinics in Istanbul. It's right here. It's on local high streets. It's in luxury apartments in Canary Wharf. And it's in unlabeled envelopes arriving in the Morning Post.
It really is a crisis on multiple fronts. If you're loving these deep dives into the dark side of Hollywood and influencer culture, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
Let's circle back to the active investigation into Parke's death specifically. Where does that stand right now?
So we are still waiting on the official toxicology and post-mortem results. These things always take time. The two suspects, the 43-year-old man and the 52-year-old woman, are currently out on bail.
But the prevailing theory from the police is that an illicit practitioner administered a treatment that went horribly wrong.
It sounds like they are heavily looking into whether it was an embolism or a massive overdose, perfectly mirroring the very risks Parke was warned about years ago on TV.
It really does. And despite everything, despite the manslaughter arrests, the illegal drug sales, the endless controversy, I think we have to pause and remember there is a human element here.
Jordan James Parke was a brother and a son.
That's a very fair point. It's easy to completely villainize him given the facts we've just discussed, but at the end of the day, a family has lost someone they loved.
His sister, Charnel, posted a tribute online recently. It's genuinely heartbreaking to read. She said, "We as a family are numb, shocked, and heartbroken." She called him their whole world.
It's important to balance the narrative here. Yes, he was accused of incredibly serious crimes, and his actions allegedly led directly to the death of Alice Webb. That absolutely cannot be ignored.
But he was also a victim of this industry's machinery in his own way, wasn't he?
He was. He was a man clearly suffering from a severe form of body dysmorphia, and instead of being helped by the culture around him, he was celebrated for it.
He was given a massive platform. He was given a catchy nickname, the Lip King.
He admitted it himself on television. He said he was addicted.
He did. And when legitimate ethical doctors on Botched told him no, he didn't stop. He just went out and found someone else who would say yes.
And eventually, he became the person saying yes to others, regardless of the danger. It's a completely toxic cycle.
The beauty industry created the persona of the Lip King. It fed it, it profited from it immensely, and in the end, it seems the industry completely consumed him.
It's a very sobering thought. We have two families completely destroyed here. Alice Webb's family, who are still tirelessly fighting for a justice they might never actually get.
And now the Parke family, mourning a sudden, unexplained loss of their own.
And in the middle of all this wreckage, the regulations that could prevent this from happening again are still just proposals on a piece of paper. Alice's law hasn't been fully enacted yet.
And the black market for these weight loss jabs is still absolutely thriving online as we speak.
It feels like we're at a major tipping point. This story is far from over. As the toxicology reports finally come in and the investigation into the two people arrested continues, we will keep you updated.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, especially if you want to follow how this case might finally force the government to change the laws in the UK.
Absolutely. You know, thinking back to where we started today, Jordan James Parke desperately wanted to be famous. He wanted to be noticed.
He spent an absolute fortune to look like a filtered photograph, and he allegedly cut corners to help others do the exact same thing.
In the end, the industry that created the Lip King may have been the very thing that killed him. It leaves us with a provocative thought.
In a world utterly obsessed with the perfect look, how many more lives will be the cost of admission?
You've been listening to StarScope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.